Advertisement.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a landmark moment, a hallmark moment, a very special moment for us here at Mongers Podcast Network, at Dicewise Entertainment. For everyone that's here, first, I'd like to thank and shout out to Frank Hamilton, who unfortunately is ill and could not be with us this evening and didn't bother even showing up until we corralled him until episode 8. Gentlemen, we are about to launch season 3, book 3 of the We Shot First podcast. We are coming up in April on our 3rd year anniversary of the We Shot First podcast. And I would like to shout out and thank our patrons. I would like to thank you, gentlemen, for doing a great job at role-playing your characters, at putting up with my, shall we say, 2.5 stars, maybe if I'm lucky, out of 5-star GMing style, my game show host. 3 years and 300 episodes spread amongst 6 or 7 shows. I think I've finally calmed down. I think I've finally got over being afraid of dead air and such, and can just be a more genuine, relaxed DM. We shall see. Gentlemen, before we start book 3 and roll credits, we have a cliffhanger to deal with. Season 2 is over. Season 3 begins now, but book 3, I'll let you know. To start off, I would like to add, a little bit of ambience. A high string tone. We are currently in blackout. A lone figure, one Zin Brawl, Old Man Zin, is wounded, leaning against a doorway on the Nebula Class B frigate, the Resurgence. His surroundings are dark, auxiliary lighting only, flickering, sparking panels, and he takes a moment to take stock. His weapon, he's on his last clip with few remaining bullets in the chamber. He throws his shoulder unsteady on his feet at the door activation panel, and it opens only partially, gets stuck, and he throws himself at the door again so that it finishes opening. He steps into a long hallway. The neck portion of the Resurgence on the crew cabin deck. Leaving the crew quarters, he peeks around a corner. It's a long shot to the doors. Normally, for a sniper, this would be a good thing. He takes a step forward and immediately stops, his boot brushing against a solid object on the floor. He looks down and sees the dead hand of a young woman cadet that not a few hours before he had finally agreed to coach on the sniper range. She is dead, her eyes staring blankly at nothing across the hallway. Pulling his flask and finishing the last of its liquid, he clears his throat, grits his teeth, and begins half staggering, half leaning on a wall, suffering internal wounds and leaving the slightest trail of blood dripping off the back of his boots down a long, dark hallway towards the bridge of the Resurgence, which lays practically dead in space. Most of its crew unaccounted for or dead. How did this happen? How did he get here? How did he let his guard down when he knew something was wrong, when he should have followed his instincts and acted, spoke up, demanded more of the crew, the captain, when things went awry with certain auxiliary systems, with the maintenance droids, with the combat protocol, and every piece of machinery on board sort of going haywire? He'd seen these signs before on his own ship. Doesn't matter now. Most people here are dead, and he will be too, unless he can reach the bridge. Gentlemen, welcome to episode 1, season 3 of We Shot First. Let's go back in time to where I left you gentlemen in your own predicament. I believe one of the last things said and done by a player was Frank, as Old Man Zinn, as he looked at his scanners and informed us of a large starship that had appeared in high orbit on the other side of the Cato-Nemodian planet. We were up to our eyeballs in malfunctions and mechanics checks. I took the liberty of writing them all down from last session over a month ago. What were we all doing? Going around down in the actual laboratory that once stood as one of the 2 loading bays. We have a partially disassembled and reassembled R4 droid that was talking to Dr. Leth about the barometric pressure dropping. Leth jumping on controls, everything's in auxiliary, asking everyone to shut down non-essential systems. Behind him, not 2 squares away, Poser Sham denying old Master Dina's request of him to leave the area, as suddenly an entire section, the loading bay dock, which is actually built into the floor of this 6x7 square room, 3 squares wide, 4 squares long, Poser and Master Dina at the edge of it, it begins to pop open and vent as we are in a low orbit in space. Air began sucking out. Now there are safeties, there are hydraulics, and there's a whole bunch of something going wrong with this loading bay door. Poser reaching out with the force to stop it, to jam it, something. Meanwhile, in the cockpit, Haas merely asking where you guys were going. He has never been to the Resurgence. Rahal was trying to provide him with the coordinates that he had in a personal data pad that we were using R4 to load into the actual mainframe. Rahal was calling up the astromedical components, what he needs for hyperspace jump, when systems begin flashing and Merrick decided to go check on the hyperdrive that wasn't functioning. He left. Merrick is by himself in the center of the ship, playing around with a bunch of breakers and switches that are set to automatically pop and shut down so that wires don't overheat, systems don't malfunction. He reset them all, thinking that was the only problem, gave the signal on the comm that we are good to go, and they all start springing off again. And he is sort of confused, calling back and forth, yes, they're ready, switching them on and off. Then he started making mechanics checks, investigating, like, what's the real problem here, and warning Rahal that, he needs a minute. A minute that, now that we believe Poser, someone is showing up in a certain starship that you guys really don't want to run into. Someone that I believe one of the last things that I didn't want to say that we were prompting Rahal to say was he had a feeling, Rahal, a gut-wrenching feeling, a feeling that comes from you being connected to the greater world around you.
Ooh, I got a bad feeling about this.
Feeling. Gentlemen, unmute your microphones and welcome to Season 3, Episode 1. What do you do? Anyone?
This machine should be working fine. Maybe I give kick.
I can't hear anyone. That's I would spoil a perfectly good intro. And, you know, as per usual, the stream can hear you, but for some crazy reason, can't hear you. That doesn't go well. Well,
that wasn't a terrifying laugh at all.
And rocks fall and everyone dies.
The new opening is accompanied by our homemade
And here
dubstep.
I was about to proudly announce that for the first time for our streaming audience, I actually have the live chat stream posted for viewing in our actual overlay. So if you type into our chat here at twitch.tv.com, wherever you're watching, it should pop up in the chat for everyone to see. So there's, there's a little bit more cross communication for those that that want to possibly view these episodes later. So while you're talking amongst themselves, and I'm racking my brain for the second time of why my computer hates me so much on such an important, momentous night. Welcome to Season 3 of We Shot First, running the Saga Edition Dawn of Defiance campaign.
It's your computer's
I think you
method
need to
acting.
panically roleplay amongst yourselves. Now, the world can hear you, the recording can hear you. Just for some crazy reason, I can't hear you, and I will try to fix that momentarily.
So, about that mystical force in the sky that's controlling all of our actions and building the world we're living in, commonly known as a GM. What a guy.
Well, you're talking weird. Are you doing the drugs again?
Ain't I always?
Yes, but I thought maybe perhaps you're using ones that you have not used before. This is bad time to try, my friend.
Fair enough.
And you said next time you would share.
Yeah, well, that's hard to share when they only give you enough for yourself.
Is this fair?
So, gentlemen, I can hear myself talking.
Oh, I thought I was just hearing your brain talk. You know, the inner monologue. I thought I had special powers for a moment.
Yes, you always have special powers.
Thank you, I needed that.
Do, pushing buttons on the keyboard. Nothing's
Love this song.
working.
Ral, have you ever thought of music career?
Oh, when the shark bites. That was in a past life.
Well, if you're pushing buttons, I'm going to push buttons as well. Beep, boop, beep. Hey, looks like these buttons came from my home planet. They sound like I do.
Okay, that was good. That was
Wait a minute.
Oh my
Russian.
god.
Oh Lord, oh Lord, oh Lord. So, gentlemen, how are we gonna fix the ship? Like legit?
I As soon as I find out what the problem is, I fix.
I got a decent used computer.
I have baller mechanics check. I have a good history of making explosives. I promise I will not turn ship into a giant explosive. At least I'll do my best.
Apologies, faulty wiring, all fixed now. So
So you can hear us.
I can hear you. The world just became a better place. Apologies, my speaker cable must have. Anyway, on with the show. I'm assuming you gentlemen were reiterating, what was going on. Now, just so you guys know, I'm going to put some numbers in the chat here. Okay.
Okay.
Rahal had a computer check of 25.
Sweet.
Okay. Merrick had mechanics checks of 21 and 27 at the core. All right. Zin tried a diagnostic of the systems just to see why lights were blinking and, things weren't going well. Didn't do so great with a 12. Okay. Poser tried to use the force, and I didn't give him a result because we cut it, with a 19 to try and hold that door shut. Gentlemen, in this game, may I remind you that of all the destinies one has, and you don't get destiny points until you level, which we've been talking about, but you haven't quite yet. There are only 3 available in this campaign. Destroy, discover, and rescue. And those themes have come up time and again. And when you move towards your destiny, in the very next day, 24-hour period, you get a bonus that I've been keeping track of. Now, you guys agreed to not know your destiny. I know your destinies. And there's been some debate about players trying to guess your destiny. But getting back to the problems at hand, Rahal was trying to I believe his computer was trying to get the coordinates going and that kind of thing. Can't really get going, Haas, until they get the hyperdrive back online, and you're trying to calculate a jump. So until he gets it online, technically, you can calculate a jump. So let's have some used computer, some basic stuff again from Rahal and then Haas, just so that you guys know you're loaded up. Will the system, because according to Old Man Zin, the diagnostics, everything's fine.
I got a 17 and a 14 used computer.
Okay.
And I'll juice that last one with a force point. Forza Pointa.
I got a 17. Oh, sorry, a 14 for used computer. Sorry.
I got a 17 and a total of 20 for my second.
Okay. As far as you know, the coordinates are uploading and the computer's crunching them, and in whatever time frame moments you need, when he gets that, when he gets us online.
Okay.
You should be good.
Excellent.
We hope. we really hope. Now,
loading.
Yeah, you get the old Windows
circle.
the Windows 98. Now, since your systems are saying everything's fine, there's no alarms and bells and whistles going on, up here, right? And there's some breaker switching in front of Merrick. The only place that seems awry is we have Dr. Leth, telling us on the comms to shut down systems, and he wants to I believe you're trying to divert some power, just trying to figure out what's going on at your end from your station, why the safeties are trying to kick in and unlock, that kind of thing. Poser, let's talk about moving an object with the Force.
Yes, let us talk about that.
If you have it handy, great. If not, dig into that, because we're going to talk about object size and pressure, because I think an engineer would know something about hydraulic pressure and how powerful these pistons can push. And then you got to remember, this dock is 9-12 meters Do you know what I mean? You could put a
Yeah.
car, you could put heavy stuff on it, and then there's enough guts in the machinery to lift that heavy object up into the belly of the beast, right? So if these things want
Yeah.
to push down, that's a lot of power. Now, the good news is you have, although taking penalties, and thank God for Dr. Leth, she's taking -5s out of her coma, not -10s. You have a particularly old and wizened and, powerful Jedi master to do your job for you.
Yes.
To aid, right? Now, she's still erring on the side of caution, like, let's just evacuate. Like, not abandon Leth, but, sort of maybe hold it as long as you can, and then, well, can you force your way as we force our way to the door, kind of, that kind of thing going on. But,
Yeah.
but you can count on her for aid another, if not, trying to make her own to do it.
Yeah.
For story flavor, let's say she's helping you, and since you're holding it, she's not just gonna save your bacon and do it for you.
Yeah.
However, I'm sure Granny might, do something crazy random at the end. So while I'm pulling up Granny here, let's talk about moving objects. Do you have that info?
Yes. So normally with just using the skill, use the force, you can only move an object up to 5 kilograms. But if you have the force power move object, depending on your use the force check, depends on the size of the object that you can move. So because I got a 19, that means I can move an object up to medium size. And I can spend a force point to increase the maximum size of the object by 1 category, or spend a destiny point to increase the maximum size by 3.
Okay.
I do not have any force points left as I have burned those previously, and we have not leveled up yet. And I also burned all of my destiny points prior. So
Sucks to
I'm
be
at
you.
a flat 19. Yeah.
Sucks to be you.
So
Now, I'll tell you this: you are definitely a toe in the pond, right?
Yeah.
And before we start scaring the crap out of you, going pinging, someone's listening, right? Can I have a use the force check as a perception? You try to grab the door, and with your 19, it's like Luke trying to very first lift the X-wing
The
out of the
X-wing.
swamp. It just like, and Yoda's eyes go wide, like, wow, he's doing it, and he's just like, no, right? And this is what happens with the door: is the hydraulics kick in, and it pushes, and you suddenly want to grab the door, right?
yeah.
Can I have either a mechanics check, or maybe a mechanics check and a use the force to perceive what you can't see, the guts of the machine? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
what's really going on here?
Okay. All right. Mechanics check and use the force check. All right. Mechanics check of 16. Use the force check of 22.
Okay. The door's opening. You try to stop it. You're like, I got this. And it's like, no, I don't. And it shunts open and it starts venting. And we freak out. Your brain tells you that mechanically there are safeties that kick in to keep this from happening. While we're there's sensors and things that you can't just hit the garage door and go whoopsie while you're, not in an atmosphere. The ship has safeties and stuff that you can't just, airlock and open, right?
Yeah.
Especially in a place like this where it's not like a docking hatch, where you have the double doors.
Yeah.
This is a single slab of reinforced steel, blah, 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 insulated, right? Fairly thick, that acts as a lifting floor between you and the dead of space. So there's got to be safety mechanisms. So at mechanics check 16, they're there. And they are small objects. And as long as you can keep a couple of those, or even one, in place, it's gonna slow down. Like, let's say that there are 4 hydraulics on 4 posts at the 4 corners of this, so that there's easy access to drive large things on.
Right.
Makes sense? So when this sucker drops down, it drops down on 4 poles. It does not drop down platform style Millennium Falcon on 2 poles and you drive something up on an angle. This whole thing, if you actually look at the side picture of the truck freighter that we once had, the thing just drops down like a balloon basket, just bonk, right? 4
Yeah.
points. So there's 4 hydraulics, let's say, 4 safety mechanisms. If you can hold one, the door may open enough to like vent oxygen, but it may not open enough for, people go flying out unless they slid down to that far. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now you can sense these objects. You can see them in your mind.
Okay.
You could possibly use the force to break a hydraulic, like, rip the fluid pin out or something and have it malfunction, like, you know what I mean? Like sabotage through moving, you know what I mean? Your mechanics check and that is also possible. But what you're doing now, just holding it with your will, not happening. So Dina gets in there with you. And it is she who is sweating and struggling, trying to hold the entire thing. But she's looking at you plaintively, like you need to do something. It's a stalemate now. I'm kind of holding it, but, it's up to the player to do something to fix this problem.
Okay.
Okay? Dr. Leth.
Oh, this is annoying.
You see the old woman who you medically examined and are somewhat familiar with, and one of your patients that rapidly heals, right? They seem stunned. Their backs to you, and they're just kind of looking, pointing at the floor like they just can't seem to believe it's opening in front of them. A stunned, startled reaction would probably be a doctor's go-to instead of like screaming, "Oh my god, it's force users," in your head. Like, you know what I mean? Like their backs are to you. They're not exactly got 2 fingers on the temple and their hands are outstretched. They're side by side, they're quietly talking, and the room's making a big swirling sucking noise, and they're shouting at each other like, "We should leave! No, we gotta do something about this," and they're standing there behind you. What are you doing? You've called the bridge for them to shut down auxiliary systems. They're yelling at each other over the comms, not really listening to you.
I'm getting to the closest access point that I can get to control the systems in the room.
Yeah, you were already at that last season. You're there. You were,
Yes.
you were there. You were using computer to get in, as it were, or trying to get
Yes.
in. So can I have computer check to sort of, It tells you this. It tells you the safeties are trying to engage, and there's a system malfunction in the hydraulics. So you're with your 12, you're just kind of reading the situation as far as the ship is thinking, and the ship's going, why is my boot slipping off? Whoop! Grab the laces with one hand, and I'm kind of hopping along here. Like why does my boot keep coming off? And you're trying to, something's pulling on the laces, and this is sort of, what the system is telling you. What do you want to do about it? Can you do anything about it?
Well, in that case, I'm going to go a little bit further in and try to figure out, because there must be a system, there must be some form of either a malfunctioning program or something that's caused this door to open.
You're a doctor. Here's a fun fact. We are in, each square is supposed to be 3 meters, right? 1,
Indeed.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 threes times 7 threes times cubic volume of oxygen in a sealed room, which is now rapidly venting. How many seconds, how many minutes do we have until we run out of oxygen? And it won't matter anymore.
Yeah, that's fair. If I cannot get this door, if I can't do this quickly, then that's better that we leave the room quickly. In that case, I will.
Oh, you got time.
Get
You got time. But I'm just saying, you don't have a lot of time.
In that case, I'll make sure to check. I'm assuming the door to the lab is opened, so I will go and check.
It actually closed on its own as soon as the floor dropped and breached.
Yes,
Remember how I said
figured as much.
the safety systems kick in? Not only are there hydraulic latches trying to keep the floor from opening, the door is set to close on its own. And
Yeah.
you need to override the
So-
door.
I'm going to be beginning to do that.
Okay?
So using a quick gimmick, in order to quickly check this, I'll use the computer again to get to override the door lock.
R4 pipes up. Master, don't leave me.
R4, plug into the system and get ready to safely vent the room.
I would, Master, but
I mean, he's beside the thing.
yeah, but you remember how I'm like, he's shut down and in disrepair? You've like, I have no motor skills. I'm thinking, my head turns, but he's, like, I'm paralyzed. You didn't want him touching or you got him to a point where you're happy that his brain is fixed and everything, and you were talking with him, but you didn't give him.
I thought I got him to the point. I didn't give him motor skills, as in I didn't give him legs so that he couldn't continue running away.
Okay, but I can't sort of turn my body and plug in and move about, the type of thing. I'm kind of leaning on a desk. The best I could do is when Rahal came down and talked to me, I was like, no touchy recording. Remember that?
Hmm. Okay, well in that case, I kind of ignore him for now.
Okay.
Turning to the people that could potentially suffocate. This room will vent in a couple of seconds. Please evacuate the room and I will seal it off and hopefully begin safely venting the room. I would really prefer not to lose my data.
Okay. Can I have some use computer on the door or mechanics check to you rip a panel and just override,
Yes, that was a use computer check of 27 to open the door.
Okay. It should open. It should. You've accessed the commands. You've done your little bypass, like everything you would do software-wise. It should work, and you know it should work. But the door isn't opening. So now you're left with a hot wiring mechanical solution because for some reason the system is going, yep, door is opening, but the hydraulic isn't kicking in. The door is...
Oh, I definitely do not want to use mechanics for this, because if I do, the door will not be airtight. So, other methods. Let's go back to plan A.
Okay. Now, everyone's been on the radio, right? So, Rahal, you're listening, you're absorbing, you're, in charge, as it were. You and Merrick were talking back and forth. He was like, try it. No, wait. Fix. Let's try it again. What's going on between you and Merrick and him and the breakers?
It's a good question. What is going on? Merrick?
I've reset it several times, and I've also kicked it twice.
Do we have hyperdrive operations?
Not until these safeties go down. There is something stopping this.
Okay. Access the system. See if I can figure out what's going on. They're making an awful ruckus in the med bay, so what's going on in the med bay?
Well, I've told you, the door is opened.
Yeah, but in the system. Natural 20, I think. No.
Nope, 14.
14, yeah, sorry. So for total of 23.
We're fine. Everything's fine.
That's what the computer says.
That's what the system is saying. It's like, no, you're good. I don't, what are you talking about? There's no problem here. There's no problem at all. Your panels, lit as green, blah blah blah. You can hear Leth going, crap. I really don't want to have to take the low jack method of doing this kind of shit, and it's.
This is useless here.
You have a situation
so
here.
I'm gonna jump down the ladder and head to the cargo bay door.
Okay.
So it'd be, a little bit of time, 30 seconds or so, maybe 40. Hustle on down.
So let's catch Merrick and Haas up in time. Haas, you're on the stick. You're loaded. You're watching it load, but until they say the engine's hot and punch it, you're, you and Zin can all you could do is Now Haas, Zin's saying there's something big and it's it's in high orbit and it's scanning us and he's trying to powering deflectors down or he's trying to look dead in the water like a silent submarine, like we're just kind of sitting out here, and he turns to you and he's like, don't fire the engines to the last minute, no heat signature, no electromagnetic signature, powering shields to advertise our position. If we're lucky and they scan, they might not, you know what I mean?
Yep, I will stand down and wait.
Okay. Now this is not a guarantee. Playing dead in the water, not necessarily a pilot's first choice, because like I said, you want to have the engine on, running, idling, and then you just pop the clutch and floor it and go. That would be ideal for you. But like Zin says, someone can hear you idling your muscle car, blah, 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 you know, down the street, and your tires peel. And it's not like we have a garage to hide in or like a rock to hide behind. It's like, but if they come around, you know, and see us sitting here floating in space, they
budget somewhere.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, they could still scan us. There are ways they could still detect the ship. It's just a slightly lesser chance if you play dead stick. Zin isn't saying this is a game. Like, Zin would be like, yeah, this is what we should do. But the DM is saying, you know, do you like those odds? Or
for now.
Yeah. Okay.
So.
All right. Merrick.
Duh.
How far had you gotten? We were
I made check to find out what problem was.
Yeah, problem is these things are electronically flicking themselves off like something's constantly surging the system, hitting all the breakers.
Can I disconnect system?
Yes, you can sort of rip off panels and bypass breakers and kind of hotwire. Now, the good news is you have a hot line, right? The bad news is if it keeps surging, you get power to where you want it to go, but like extended of this could be bad for the engine in the long term. You know, gyro rigging is not a great idea, but considering the danger, it's up to you, right? You don't want to start a burnout or a fire, you know. But then again, what's your other option? You don't have time to like go replace new switches and breakers in this system. You just don't have that kind of time.
Ral, have you ever stolen car and knife?
Coming over the comms.
A time or two. What are you thinking?
You ever done burnout in vehicle you don't own?
A time or two. What are you thinking? I happen to own this one.
We do burnout in vehicle we do own.
Let's save that as a last option. How much time are you going to need to make that happen?
Not too long. You never want to get caught on stealing vehicle.
Do you guys remember how Merrick literally used himself as a living wire when we were down in the prison compound and he's like, you know, finger in his ear right beside Zin's and finger. Remember that? Saved the day, kept a live wire by like sticking things together in his mouth. And do you guys remember that?
Yep.
Yeah. Good thing you weren't there to see that, because what this man is capable of doing with your permission, without you seeing. And now we're in a like, you know, shell in space where a lot more can go wrong. But hey, just saying. So now everybody's, I believe, caught up in time, right? Merrick, you can actually, just for funsies, there's a little porthole, you know, in those submarine or those ship sinking shows where you just see the guy trapped on the other side of a little window, you know, hammering away, you know. Get me out! You'll be fine! You know, thank you for your sacrifice and service. That kind of thing. So Rahul, you're nose to nose with Leth, but on the wrong side of the door.
Is there an emergency release?
Leth, to your pleasure, does not look even phased a little. He just looks bored and annoyed. So maybe the auxiliary lights that are spinning, that your computer lied to you, that you could physically see in this slightly darkened room, you know, maybe isn't so bad. He looks calm, your computer says everything's fine, you know. You seen that meme with the dog in the burning building? It's fine, everything's fine. He was in denial.
This is fine.
Yeah.
Is there an emergency release on the door?
Yes. We're talking mechanics and panels and strength pulling and all those, you know. Do you think there would be some kind of lever that you could use leverage so a regular person, you ever see these movies where like there's always this T-handle and it just takes every ounce of their weight to like turn it over to open a tiny little space door? I never get that. Well, they're here, so you're going to have to suffer it. Anyway, but yep, you start getting into that.
I do.
Poser. She's holding the thing, making puppy eyes at you. Picture it! While still straining, she launches into an anecdote. Picture it! Stardate 14-7, and then, you know, the Clone Wars are raging, and she's just rambling on beside you. What do you want to do?
Okay, so I know how to temporarily stop them or more permanently stop it, but having any sort of open hatch going into hyperspace is going to rip at least the hatch off, if not the entire part of the ship.
We do have functioning escape pods if you want to take your chances on the planet.
Fair.
Just saying.
Yeah. Would it be possible for me to manipulate the mechanics of the hydraulic systems to send them in reverse? Because right now they're pushing the plate down. Can I manually pull them back with the force?
So sort of unplugging and crossing wires as if they were moving on their own accord?
Yeah.
Well...
that are spinning gears.
Let me ask you something. I'll tell you what I know about hydraulics, and then I'm going to ask you an honest question about what you know about hydraulics. Imagine a forklift, okay? It's a giant arm with a scoop. And in the joint of the wrist is a giant piston. A tube sliding into another tube. It's called a hydraulic because it's actually filled with a dense liquid that's like oily as opposed to just water. But hydraulic, hydro, it is a fluid. And it uses sort of this dense oily water pressure to fill and push the piston out and to retract into a bladder or something and pull it in. This is how hydraulics work, yes?
I believe so, yes. I actually don't know that much about hydraulics.
Sort of, yes.
Okay.
Yes and no. Okay, so for something like this, if it's a dual operation, it's not only pushing, and it doesn't have something like gravity to force it back into a release, it would be a pump system. So it would be a matter of there'd be a reversing valve on the pump.
There you go. So you got to sense not the hydraulic, but part of its system, the pump. You got to get that pump to start sucking instead of blowing. Can you do that, Poser? Can you suck instead of blow?
I believe Poser can.
All right. Then
all right.
Use the force. I never thought I'd ask this on the air.
Pucker up, Conehead.
Pucker up, Conehead, and use the force to suck on those pumps. The problem is, with his powers, he can only do one at a time.
Poser's an amazing sucker at 26.
There you go. So you managed to reverse one. I'll even give you this. You know what? No, I'm not. I kind of spoon-fed you that one. Damn it. I'm always getting in trouble for spoon-feeding players.
It's fine.
Okay.
I'm not angry.
So I'm holding the door, and you get this idea via us discussing hydraulics, and thank you, Matt, player to player. So I'll say it's a player.
Here, I can make a mechanics check if you want.
Oh, no. It had something to do with communication, right?
Right.
No one knows what you're doing. Let me put it that way.
That's fair.
The one person beside you that's force sensitive is like, oh, you know what? I could probably sense what you're doing. And she nods at you and, switches gears like, right, okay, I'm going to let off on this door and try to reverse pumps. It's risky because now the hydraulics have free, you know what I mean? But if I could grab an opposing pump, like a corner, kitty corner, and get it switched, then the pumps are fighting each other for that round or two. So it might be worth letting go of the door. So I think she's going to do that. So she lets go of the door and grabs across the corner, whatever pump she senses is kitty corner, the one you're playing with, and tries to move it. Gotta love Jedi Masters. And gets it going. Right?
Okay.
So the one that's at your feet, you're at the bottom left corner of this. I'm assuming that's the one below, you can sense easily it's below you, right? It's in the guts of the ship. Boom. You get it going. And she does the kitty corner top right. So now the system is the door starts shuddering, going like you ever see besides my voice, a garage door, starts stuttering, that type of thing. That's what the floor does. It starts shuddering, right?
Okay.
The floor is shuddering, and we're using all kinds of force powers to make this happen for several moments. Rahal is on that manual release, trying to get this door open. Les doing the math, reminding Astro Droid R4 that he doesn't breathe, so suck it up. He's probably but you know what? I can't activate my mag locks. If that thing pops open a foot and it starts sucking out like medium-sized objects, R4 is like going to be a spacewalker. Well, Meanwhile, back in the cockpit, Haas is, waiting for instructions. And Merrick, let's have those rolls to get those engines going.
Okay.
Let's have a strength check from Rahal to get that lever down. And I believe there was a plan B from Dr. Leth.
Yes. Plan B is actually resuming Plan A.
31 mechanics check.
Right. So, use wires, stripping, pliers, your strength, rip the thing off, dig right in. You know exactly what you're doing, and you do it right. You just need the time to do it, which isn't a lot, like I said, because the problem is
Gearhead.
Okay, what do you got there?
I have a cool ability that I don't always pull out, but I do.
Okay, let's have it.
Gearhead. Once per encounter, you can make mechanics or use computer check more quickly than normal. A check requiring a full round can be attempted as standard. A check requiring a standard can be attempted as a move, and a check requiring a move can be attempted as a swift. Checks requiring multiple swift actions can be reduced to one swift. Checks requiring more than a full round action can be attempted in 1/2 the amount, and minus 10 penalty.
Okay, so you need to wire several breakers, which would take at least a round each, and you're saying you get that in half the time.
Yeah.
But they want a mechanics check at -10 to do it.
Yeah.
So if you do this the slow way, you get 31. If you do this the quick way, you get 21.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's a very simple operation.
Yeah.
So this is what you want to do?
Yes.
Half your time, take your 21. Haha, take 20. And, just go to town and just, you're just telling the others. So Haas is on the comm, let's go. Or sorry, Zin. It's actually Zin coming over the comm saying, guys, I got to get out of here. Because he's scanning. He can see this thing, approaching. That kind of thing. Let's see if the bad guys see us as far as scanning goes.
By the way, I got a 14 for my strength check,
Okay.
which is actually pretty good.
Yep.
For me.
Something easy is 10, something difficult is 15. If you just kind of, if you don't, damn you, your sly, thin, stylish physique.
And you know what? I'll spend a force point. Ha 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 ha, because I have them.
Okay. Let's have it. 115, but you know what? It's you reef it. You get it down there, and the door is it's bypassed but you're basically unlocking the door. So now the two of you just got to grab the door and rip it aside. It won't just sort of unlock by itself. It should. Sorry, you've unlocked it. It should open by itself because you've overridden it. So you get this down, right, and you wait. And nothing happens. It's like crap. Now you know the door's unlocked. So what do you want to do now?
Pull on the door.
Right. And Leth has disappeared. He looked through the portal. He's run back down the stairs and he's typing on keys or whatever. Right?
3.
Oh, yes.
I threw something out on that last one.
Okay. But
oh, we're back.
Action and reaction, very dramatic. And yet, if I stop the action music and switch over to a moment in time, poser.
Yes.
You feel a ping. Do you want to cloak?
Yes.
Ping, ping. Somebody's knocking. And
I'm trying to not be home. I got a 19 on my use the force check. I'm rolling hot garbage tonight.
Well, I got good news.
And bad news.
And bad news. The good news is you sense that the jig is up. You just don't feel that you've cloaked.
Right.
Sorry, that's the bad news.
Okay.
the good news is it's not you that he's looking at. And what's happening in Dina's head, maybe because I'm weak, maybe she's tired and focusing too much on what she's doing to block the cloak, a master should cloak. Maybe he senses you and not her. You're relieved that it's her face. She turns to you as if she's realized something and gets wide-eyed. And to your horror, your own mouth opens and words come out. Your voice, simply saying a few words. But in your head, you hear, "I see you, Master Dina."
Yikes.
Oh, it gets better. Meanwhile,
Does his head starts spinning and he vomits?
not at all. I'm going to trust you, gentlemen, not to meta what is about to happen and what has just happened. Haas. Do you guys remember before Joe played Haas? When you first took the ship, found a dead guy in a back to tank, before you found Haas in the walls? Had a little cutscene. Somebody seemed a little frightened, and someone callously assuring them that everything's fine. Do you remember that scene? Do you remember that it was Joe Gibson?
Yes.
That it was Joe Gibson voicing the callous voice, telling the other panicked voice played by myself that everything's fine. And then that panicked voice seemed hurt and faded away. Do you guys remember that voice? No, you don't remember that? Audience, go. No.
I do.
You remember
Yeah.
You remember this, Joe? Yeah.
Joe is vacant.
Joe is vacant.
There is only Zool.
There is only Zool. So I'm sure he doesn't.
There is a battle of wills going on somewhere aboard the ship currently. This time, you don't hear the voice that's assuring everyone or assuring the victim that everything's fine. Only the victim. Only the person struggling to break free. The scene, no meta, gentlemen, sorry, but the scene itself goes to a dark place. A single light shines on that floor, that spotlight where they usually do the dramatic theater action where there's like one person in one chair, that kind of thing. No chair.
Monologue time.
Exactly. No chair. No chair. Just a man kneeling down, his hands palm up, back of his wrists on his knees, shoulders slumped forward, head down, looking utterly defeated, shuddering, shaking, not weeping, but not laughing, but upset. This man is all alone. And then seems to be aware of something occurring outside his lonely little dark space and calls out to the darkness, "No, you can't. You'll kill them all. You already have me. Leave them alone. I know what you're trying to do. Take me. I will, if you spare them, you can have, I won't resist anymore. You can have all of me. I have nothing left. My friends are gone. The captain is gone. These people don't deserve what's happening to them. Let them escape. Let them live. You can have me. What the man perceives next? Acceptance? Agreeance? Did he strike a deal with the devil himself? You don't know. But his head shoots up. And right before the light goes out, we see silhouetted, heavy shadowed, the face of Haas. Our cyborg pilot is the man on the floor. Meanwhile, back to the action. Poser, horrified that your own voice spoke without you, trying to make it go. It's not like you had a creepy voice. You just said those words to her. But in your head, you heard a high-pitched, thin voice. But by the time it sort of got into the distance and minced in your brain, was low and dark and heavy. So heavy, it opened your jaw. You spoke the words towards Dina. Anyway, she looks horrified at you. And then doubles her efforts. Grabs you by the shoulder, shakes you. Young one, go! Go now! Get off this ship! Go! And she just turns back towards the actual doors, the actual bay door, and lifts her hands out as if she's got hands spread wide, as if she's conducting an opera, like, gets into the big full lifting Jedi pose, closes her eyes, and puts everything into holding that door, switching those pumps. But you can see that she's weak. You can see that she's faltering with this, that it's, that she is in bad shape, but she's pulling it off on Jersey grit and force alone. What do you do?
Do I have control of my?
Yeah, you're good. It was just a moment. Like you felt for a moment. Am I cloaked? I don't think I'm cloaked. Then you said those words and it stopped. And she shook you out of it. No, you're fine.
Okay. I am going to bounce around the outside to one of the far corners and manipulate the force to reverse the pump.
Okay. So you want to...
I'm ignoring her.
Okay. She's already doing this. You want to just aid her or just try it on your own?
Try it on my own because she's struggling right now.
Okay.
So...
Yep. Yep. She's trying to do the double whammy.
Yeah. All right. Use a force of 20.
Yep. You think you got a third one. Rahal, a relatively easy strength check.
For you, maybe. Come on, baby, let the good times roll. 11, and I'll dump a force point.
Okay.
Come on, baby. I'm just using them all up. 3, 14. Damn
14. Well, like I said, relatively easy. I had the DC at like 12. So you pull the door aside, okay? And like I said, as soon as you get those fingers, air starts sucking past your hand, and then you just reef that door sideways, and air from the main hull of the ship just floods into the room as the room continues to vent. But you've bought them valuable time with a much larger airspace of oxygen square footage. Problem is, it itself, technically, even though it's the belly of the entire ship, is a contained space that feeds the main deck, all around the engine room, and the bridge, because there's only a ladder. So now, technically, you're drawing oxygen from Merrick and the rest of the crew in the cockpit. The forward engine rooms are sealed. The bunks are sealed. The escape pods, looking very tasty right there. Look at 17 Raw. It's 2 squares away. No one would know. Look, it is there. And the other bay, is assuming it's not suffering the same problems, also is sealed. So there's fresh air to get to, But right now, you've bought them valuable time. Dr. Leth, running back to the console. Rahal's forcing the door. What are you doing?
Oh, well, since the Just seems to
Doctor
be
Doctor
reporting
Left
that all
starts.
systems are set up properly. That means that as something external is
Oh my God,
he's malfunctioning.
He's malfunctioning. He's
malfunctioning.
he's the cyborg. He just starts stuttering, and oh my God, that was awesome. Though we didn't really get any of it. No, we're not revealing Jay is actually the cyborg. He cut out us. Could I have that again, Jay?
I don't think we can.
Nope.
Sorry, my connection a bit odd there. Yes, well, I'm rather upset.
Okay, and he's taking a moment at the. He's really mad. Look, he's method acting. He's playing with devices in front of him on camera as if to method act his actual. Anyway, go ahead.
Anyways, I was getting at the fact that as the system is reporting that it's acting perfectly fine, that nothing is a problem, as that is obviously not the case. That means there is an external factor manipulating my system, and I'm not upset. I get quite upset when things play with my toys. So let's find the source.
No, I'm gonna correct myself. He is an android. That's just crazy logic right there. Okay, so you go digging. Where is this going? You have a live feed saying everything's fine. It's like, fine. What system is telling this system everything is freaking fine? Yes?
Yep, looking for anything that could be accessing the system.
Okay. So, a diagnostic? Or are you just kind of digging your way through Windows, as it were, through the program files going, is this going? Is this going? Are these drivers updated? You know, that kind of thing.
Basically, I would be trying to gain complete access in the system myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because apparently I'm not currently using it. So I'm going to use my flash of insight as well.
Okay.
And accessing this computer port.
Right. So instead of using the computer, the ship, you want to use your personal computer and hack the ship? Like an outside source?
Yep.
Then hack away. You have the rules for hacking. It's making checks against a hostile computer. Now, this computer, you believe you have access, but you know the computer's lying to you. So instead
I'm also using a special hacking tool in order to do this.
Slicing tool?
Well, I'm just saying, if you breach a security system, you know it's hostile. You know it's going to try and shut you down and trace you. This is kind of like let you in and mislead. Everything's fine. Look at the happy scenery. Everything's like it's bringing you in and redirecting you and sending you in a loop. That, you know what I mean? It's doing the passive aggressive back off and lean back kind of thing, and your swings are, you know what I mean? It's a different approach. Now that you have your own computer hacking in, and you believe this is what's going on, I would like you to treat this computer as if it is hostile, as if you're doing a straight-up hack. You know what I'm saying? Instead of saying, oh, I should have access to the system, it should be easy low DCs, it's like, no, this system's lying to you, and instead of like shutting you out or shutting you down like a security system it's letting you in, but it's letting you see things, it's like putting a videotape on loop. Oh, everything's fine, look at the hallway, no one's in it.
Yeah. What I'm getting at is that I'm using the XCalc 3GA.
Yep.
A portable computer that had intelligence of 14.
Shiny.
Is automatically treated as friendly or helpful. Anything that I'm hacking.
Okay.
Granting a +3 on all used computer checks.
Okay. So let's have it.
Okay. So that is a total of +8.
And you're using
a 32.
Your special insight bonus?
Yes.
Okay. It's coming from the cockpit. An external source is using a port in the cockpit and is it's like a mirror, like say you have software installed on the ship's computer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And to hide it, you've taken it apart and scattered it in fragments. It's practically untraceable. It's only visible now because something's come along and is grouping the pieces together and making it active. So
for now, I'm going to try work a beginning process of quarantining that particular access point.
Okay. So you want to cut off the access point so that the software just goes dormant again that's inside the system.
Yes.
Okay. So let's say the closest thing I could compare this to is another hacker that's already in the system and has laid tunneling worm software and is now using that software to have some fun. Right? So now it's like you're the security system trying to block that hacker. Is the closest thing I can compare it to. Right. So how do we go about that? Is it like if someone's invading your system?
Hold on, I will pull up viruses in this as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, you just
slice off, baby.
Well, hang on. You're not going after the virus because you're not going after the software. You just want to deny. You want to like shut down the port where he has access.
Yes, I just wondered if the ability to the description for the ability to make a virus would give a description of how one would be able to defeat a virus.
Okay. But it's not the virus that you're going after. You're going after the firewall. You're going after the access port. You're going after the plug, like making port number 3.
When you are fighting a virus, generally the first step for figuring out how to disable it would be indeed to what's called quarantine.
Yeah, again, you're talking about scooping up the software. A minute ago, you were talking about shutting down the hardware, the actual port, denying the access port.
I wasn't talking about shutting down the hardware. I was talking about shutting off access that hardware would have.
Isn't that the same thing?
No.
You guys are arguing semantics. For all intents and purposes, yes. You are trying to isolate that port from the rest of the systems.
Right. That is not quarantining a virus. That is screwing around with the router, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
That's fine. Make your roll. I'm just saying, like, at the end game, we're like, yeah, and then, like, 3 sessions later, you're like, so, this virus, yeah, it's still there. Anyway, you could do either. I just want clarification. Are you going to disable a port in the router, or are you going after the software that's already blanketed through the nervous system of the ship? One or the other. Both are possible.
For me at the moment, I'm not certain how much, what exactly this particular thing in the cockpit is actually doing for the ship. I don't know the direct effects of completely shutting it down permanently.
Right.
So as it is, I just want to block access that that the physical port would have to the system.
Right.
Yes. So that is what I'm doing.
Okay. Go to town.
Okay. And +3. I own the system, so that should be fine. For a 25.
Okay. You manage to report the access point of the physical, like the actual hardware, like of the router. So he's plugging into a dead stick, or whoever it is plugging into, just can't get past the rotor. It's, the system's going, nope, right? And the software that's still there just gets cut off and, goes dormant. That type of thing, like doesn't light up anymore. So success. Okay. Immediately, Merrick, you're at the end of the line. You've hardwired everything, and the engine's ready to go. Do you want to try to risk firing this thing up cold by telling the cockpit to hit the gas? Because like I said, it was offline, like completely offline. And every time you tried to put it online, it was like, everything's fine, but nothing happened. You came down here, the damn thing shut off, and all the breakers were switched. And every time you tried to flick the breakers to get juice to this thing to get it going, to warm it up as it were, they kept flipping off. Now you've just hotwired right to the engine.
Herral.
Yep.
Remember I said it will take me a moment to make engines ready.
Yep.
Moment has passed.
Engines is ready. All right. And I'm like pulling on the door. Come on, guys, get out of here. We got to seal this up.
Okay. Poser. You sense the hydraulics stop the pump, the other one. It doesn't switch back to suck. It just shuts down. Like it just stops dicking around. We have 3 and the last one just, stops malfunctioning.
Okay.
And-
Is the floor starting to rise?
Yep, it comes up,
Okay.
and Dina collapses in a heap. But the door seals itself.
Okay. Or is there some sort of locking mechanism I can hit that will manually lock this shit down?
Yeah. If there's probably a panel in here that would just, disable the door in the closed position, and that way the pumps and the hydraulics won't activate to, you take them offline, as it were.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going to rush over to that panel and flip that switch.
Okay. Rahul, you're telling everyone to get out of the room. You see in the middle of the room, you see Master Dina just passes out from some kind of exhaustion, maybe too much excitement. Poser's running around. It looks like he's lost, like he's looking for something. He's looking at the floor and he's staring at it like he's willing the floor to reveal something to him. And then all of a sudden, a light bulb goes on. He just jumps up and runs over to a panel, opens it up, and starts. You know what the panel is? It actually, disables the loading bay door.
Sure. You know what? I'm going to rush into Dina's aid.
Okay.
Go down. Help her up.
Okay. She's not passed out. She's just kind of collapsed. And she looks up at you. And she says quietly, she says, "The escape pod. I can draw them off. It's me they're looking for. Take me to the pod. I will buy you time." And she reaches up one hand and strokes your face. "Do this for me, Jersey Force." And you distinctly, not seeing, but feel the other hand reach around and grab you by the ass cheek.
Ooh. Pass off a hot piece of tail like this? Nah, screw that. Get on the comms. Merrick says we're ready. Punch it, fellas.
Wait, we need to check the other loading bay. And at that, Poser's going to start booking it to the other loading bay.
Merrick's
Don't
right
bother
there.
opening the door if it's unlocked. I can do if it's been opened, then it's going to be no air in that room anyways. Hold on.
He will be able to look through the low window and see if the door is opened and things moved about.
A door is ajar.
Yeah.
A door is ajar.
That being said, Leth, if you want to check out, from your end, see what's going on, that kind of thing. Leth, you run over to the room. Merrick, you're good on your end. Do you want to go? What's your post in the ship? Do you want to come back to the cockpit? Do you want to just stay here to make sure things are cool in case a fire breaks out or something?
No, I know Rao's around the corner, and I've heard him. It sounds like he's been grunting and exerting himself physically.
Okay.
I better go check on him.
All right. So if you want to head over there, Poser, you pass Poser. Merrick pass each other in the hall. You see Rahul cradling Master Dina. Or sorry, Dina, as we know her. Leth intent on his computer, not leaving the room. R4, just the heads turning back and forth. La la la. Poser, you get to the door.
Yep.
And your worst fear of all is realized. The door is open completely and is now just slowly coming up from full open position. And the bikes are gone. All the bikes are gone. Your bike is gone, man. Everything just all freaking gone. Sucked out into space.
Son of a bitch. Poser just falls on his knees. No! My ride! Why?
Thank you for that. The DM giveth and the DM taketh away. So, however, the good news is that you see the floor is, coming back up and you hear it lock and, but like Les said, if you open the door, more oxygen is going to vent into the room and it's been completely depressurized. Pretty much whatever's in this room that isn't bolted down has either traveled several feet towards that door before the pressure equalized, or was just floating around in the room and then falls to the floor. But the bike and a lot of stuff was on the hatch, and just at least your prize bike I know was on that hatch. It's gone. It's pan out from the ship, and there's just that one speeder bike he worked on the most with the speakers, playing that
The sick fire decals.
Yeah, yeah. You just hear those, those sci-fis where they hear the radio in space, and you just like, da, 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 just hear it out
The
there.
elevator music.
Just play through the speakers as this thing slowly, is leaving behind the ship, twirling end over end. Zin and Haas have been told to punch it. Yeah?
Yep.
And gentlemen, punch it, we do. Start up the engine, and everything goes, boom, 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 right? But you don't get that famous. No. Yeah. It doesn't
You get
blow.
the opposite.
Well, that's what you get. Like that's what you got last time. Like when the breaker, we're fading out and everything. No, we get the,
You know when the Ghostbusters sound when
Yeah.
they charged up their rifles?
everything powers up, and then it's just, and away we go. Hyperspace coordinates plugged in, and by the time you guys make it back to the bridge, it's all happy blue swirling cloud of funnel Star Wars hyperspaceness. Taking us out of dramatic turns back into regular functioning turns. Merrick, you want to help? You want to help Rahul with the lady?
Hello, you're limping like you've done something with your back.
Okay.
Give me that, I will carry it.
The air is very light in here. You guys are having trouble breathing.
Especially around medic.
Well, the good news is there's actually oxygen equipment in here because it is the med bay. I mean, if anyone wants to go suck on a tank of oxygen with the nozzle that's next to a bed, it's like, three squares over there. Just saying.
It will only take time for air to return. So, I will take the lady. I will throw her over shoulder.
Fireman's carry. Hop, oi! Okay. And?
Does she grab his ass?
She passed out, remember? That was the last
Oh, yeah,
thing. She
I
was like, take me to the skate pod.
Picks her up, and I'm just like, hey, to my quarters.
Yep. So where do you, starting with Merrick and Rawl, where do you want to take Master Dina?
To my
Raul said
quarters.
his quarters.
Okay,
So
so
take her to his quarters.
okay, so whatever passes is the captain's quarters, right?
Yep. It's room 8.
Okay.
The one that's closest to the refresher.
Okay. I'm assuming eventually the two of you, or at least Rahal, gets back to the bridge, talking to Haas and Zen. We're like, phew, that was close. We're got our coordinates, and you're zooming through hyperspace several hours, several days to get to the Resurgent, and those guys are, just on the bridge hanging out.
After I've made modifications to motor, I like to make sure that it doesn't blow up suddenly. I did hot fire.
He's going to monitor the engine.
It's good call, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as he walks back to monitor the engine, he sees Poser there, just tears streaming down, just hands against the door. Just, why?
Mascara running down his face.
Evanescence playing in the background.
Leave Brittany alone.
I'm just happily deleting all the speeder bikes on the map here. Delete.
I stop for a minute. Poser, what is the matter?
They're gone.
No,
They took them all.
No, we are here. What are you talking about?
The bikes.
Oh,
My babies.
those bikes. Weren't they kind of like piece of shit?
You shut your mouth.
But they were.
You shut your bantha sucking mouth.
Poser.
They were my children.
Poser. You have to let things go sometimes. If they come back, they were yours. I have motors to check. You cry like man-child. We will have drinks later. Yeah, actually, I leave a flask with him.
Yep.
Drink that in the meantime. It stops tears.
Yeah. Poser?
Oh,
It's in your
Starts chugging.
it's in your imagination. You reach for your training saber that isn't there and just wish that, you could just turn on a lightsaber and end this conversation.
Not wrong. I spent so much time on that bike. So much effort. Ugh. Yeah, Poser will just start downing the drink.
Okay.
Wait, I realized that the one motor control is actually right here, awkwardly around the corner where Poser is.
Yep.
So every few minutes, Merrick just kind of pokes his head around the corner, shakes his head silently, goes back to monitoring the motor.
Okay.
After a little bit, Poser will stumble into one of the escape pods.
Okay.
And just chill in there for a while.
Okay. Hours go by, and it's going to be hours, if not days, before we get to where we're going. Dr. Leth.
Hold on. Before hours go by, I'm going to be as Rahal and Merrick are taking the elderly lady to Rahal's quarters. I'm going up to the command deck and basically let's find that access port.
Okay.
Because I've blocked them out for a bit, but that's no reason that they can't work around that system if it's an active connection.
Okay. So Haas and Zin are a little annoyed that you're leaning over seats with your little computer and plugging into different ports and asking the computer, is this port A? Is this port B? Is this designate port 1082? Figuring out which is which.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It takes some time, but you do figure it out. There's a chair ripped out in the cockpit. There's a workstation, auxiliary scanner. It was, it's a useful system and setup, but somebody's if you have to sacrifice a workstation for a pilot, co-pilot or something, this would be the station. Okay. Dusty old keyboard, monitor shut off or whatever, and a simple, large, black, monolithic looking hard drive sitting there, plugged in. Sorry, not plugged in, but sitting there, and it's unplugged from the port that you've decided is the one that had access.
Go onto the comms. And no one felt it was suspicious that was a giant black box connected to the computer systems?
Poser?
Drinking in sorrows.
Yeah, I believe it was Poser that flicked that switch several episodes ago. Just saying, No response.
Oh.
Well, honestly, Doctor, I thought it was part of the modifications.
And what part of the modifications was that?
To be honest, I haven't really had a chance to do a fine-tooth comb once over on this ship, but let me tell you, when we get back to the resurgence, I think that's going to be top of the list.
Let's go back in time to Aquarius, where Rahal was buying a ship with your money combined, and while you watched Zin buy a ghillie suit, he bought a ship.
Oh, I didn't watch.
Well, he bought a ship that has heavy, as I stated several times, has heavy modifications to its engines and something to do with biofeed tanks or whatever. There's a back to tank and a corpse still in it. Did you guys ever flush and let this guy, or is he like Area 51 where it's
that's our mascot.
Yeah.
That was
floating alien dude that's in what's the stuff
We'll call him
that was removed because we used the back to tank.
No, hold him up in front of the holocam. Let's be hilarious.
Okay. So you took the guy out of the tank, clean that up, but there's there's big tubes and pipes and things, but they go into the walls so that they're not like tripping over everything, and then they pop back out, but you're pretty sure the same kind of wiring or the same kind of, blue internet cable or, whatever's going back and forth, was hooked up to this room and the engine. Now we found Haas's little hidey hole, and some of these mods fed power to his cryogenic chamber sleep and all that kind of thing. And you guys kind of went, oh, this makes sense. And we never kind of got back to that. So now, Rahal, you're saying that when we get to the Resurgence, it's time for a top to bottom.
Top to bottom, 100%. We're going to tear this sucker down, go through full repair. Can't have this happening.
What about Darga? He got away. What about your mission? If you strip the ship now to find out all these answers, you're going to be sitting in dry dock for a little while.
I'm sure I can sweet talk the captain into giving us a ride. I know she doesn't like me very much, but
the Resurgence is the Nebula B frigate with Captain.
No, the other one with the sweet space yacht,
the Banshee.
Oh, the Banshee.
Captain O'Keefe with the Banshee. You don't even know if she's there still. She could be off since you guys ditched her as your cab. She could be off. You have no idea.
It's obviously not safe for us to take this vessel. We'll dock it to the Resurgence and perform as any repairs we can, blah, 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 do the overhaul. Okay. I just got I got a nice sum of cash rolling in here pretty soon. It's about time. So, and then and we can, I'm sure we can, even if we have to find some black market transport to get us on the way. And actually, you want to know what? In the downtime in hyperspace, I'm going to go back to my quarters and jump on the HoloNet and see what I can arrange for that.
Okay.
So yeah, for me, as far as what I was doing, I would then make sure to remove that and then begin processing to see what exactly it contained, what it was doing, that kind of thing. It is kind of odd that it was connected with the same kind of wiring that would be going in towards where Haas was located.
Well, this has been the mods are kind of jerry-rigged, it's sloppy. It's not like aftermarket, we're gonna pimp your ride and then make it look sweet. It's experimental at best.
Yes,
and now the station has been gutted. It's lose the chair. Okay, no one's gonna sit here again. This external hard drive was obviously contained a whole bunch of software, or it itself is something you could pop open and examine. Was plugged in here for whatever use for the last owner. It's unplugged now, but that is definitely the port where somebody was, while we were in the med bay, somebody jacked in. Now, Hassan's in. We're if you ask them about it, they're we were flying the ship. It's behind us over there, I don't know what I'm talking about. We had everything plugged in, Did we accidentally knock out a wire or something while we're jostling the ship in hyperspace? No, I don't think so.
Didn't Zin plug it in the first place?
No, it was Poser. It was plugged in, and Poser let's hook this up and see what it does.
Poser did it.
Poser. It was Poser. Do you guys remember? It loaded into the screen, and you got that little old 80s flat cursor, dink, dink, dink.
What are you doing?
And then a whole bunch of matrix, a whole bunch of code went flash, and then the screen just kind of went back to the cursor, and then just. And the little driver light was flashing like mad, and then just went cold. And he was like, okay. And we never got back to it. But you don't know that.
He tried to mention something, but everyone was talking.
Sorry, nobody saw him do it. Sorry, no, but I'm just dialing back to this because it was, you asked the DM, and I'm just so excited, But hasn't Poser suffered enough? He's dejected. He's got a passed out new master. He lost his bike, and he's to blame for everything that's pretty much happened to us since we got on the ship. But cut the kid a break, that kind of thing. We're in.
He's also getting drunk for the first time. So
yeah.
Interesting experience.
No tolerance.
Yeah.
Very low tolerance.
He just drinks himself.
He'll spray out that escape hatch after he's done in there.
Let's go to a scene where a man is relieved of duty on this ship. This man is, finally doesn't have to put on a face in front of everybody, retreats to a private location, and begins drinking and reflecting. But it's not the man you think. Alone in his captain's quarters, Rahal Oberus closes the door behind him and leans against it heavily, looking at the passed out woman on his bunk. Heads over to the refresher, reopening the door and going to like the bathroom next door, looking at his face in the mirror, wiping sweat from the back of his neck, and being truthful of the real man he is to the mirror and no one else. Rahal. The chat log I got going here in Zoom.
I don't see anything in Zoom. There you go.
Leaning heavily on the sink, looking into the mirror. The close call, buddy, wiping the sweat from the back of his neck. You know something. Something that shakes you to your very core. Something that I will only say to you in the audience while you're alone and remind the players not to meta. You sense something on that ship. Your gut tells you.
I feel a presence that I haven't felt in nearly a millennia.
How old are you?
No, I'm just kidding. Uh-oh. I visibly pale. Thankful that our path in hyperspace is taking us further away.
Further away. You care to comment to yourself what you sensed?
I could swear when we was in orbit around that planet that my ex-wife was staring over my shoulder, judging me like she always used to.
You don't know how. You don't know how it's possible, but more than your gut, more than a feeling, your ex-wife was on that ship. And we will see you next time on Star Wars Episode 2 of Season 3, gentlemen. We shot first. Say goodnight, poser.
Damn you!